Now, through these anonymous-looking doors lies Europe's largest private car collection. Now, we've been granted exclusive access for one day only. Come with me for a little peek around. Oh my word. This amazing collection is Studio434, the car collection of one very lucky man called Roger Dudding. Around 50 years ago, he came up with an ingenious new queuing system, a system we've all used in supermarkets and the like. The success of this, and another business buying up and selling lock-up garages around South London, has fueled this half-a-century love affair with cars. But before we meet him, let's have a look around. Now, this looks like your typical 1920s Austin or Morris, doesn't it? But it's not. It is a Clino. Now, you've probably never heard of them, have you? I haven't heard of them up until today. In actual fact, they were Britain's third largest car maker in the 1920s. Yet, by 1929, the company was finished. The ongoing price war with Morris finished them off. And Studio434 has got the world's largest collection of them. There are 6 here. Incredible. You learn something new every day. This is a favourite of mine. It's a 1966 Citroën DS23 Décapotable. I've been practising the pronunciation, you can probably tell. But my word, isn't it a stunning car? Now, they made 5 right-hand drive cars, and one of them is sitting in here in Potter's Bar, of all places. It is wonderful, isn't it? Absolutely drop-dead gorgeous. And then we move on to the Ferrari F355 over here, a car that's comparatively common to the Citroën DS. But this one is a bit unusual because it has only done 1,300 miles and it's still got the original plastic on the carpets. Is it a crime that hasn't been driven properly? You decide. This is Billy Butlins' wife's Triumph Stag. You know, Billy Butlins from Butlins. Well, that's his wife's old Stag. There are a couple of one-offs here as well, this AC Zagato prototype being one of them. Now, it was supposed to herald the rebirth of AC cars back in 2012. It's supposed to be shown off at the Geneva Motor Show, but the Swiss Customs paid a bit too much interest in it. And over here, there's a Lightning GT, an all-electric supercar. Now, it was shown off in 2008, but since then, no cars have been properly made. There's also a Lotus M250, but that's upstairs. Oh yeah, I didn't mention upstairs, did I? Upstairs, the collection is just as sprawling, and in recent years it has sprawled so much that owner Roger has had to purchase another facility around the corner. Here there are conference rooms, car storage spaces and photography studios, but really it's a home to the rest of the Dudding collection, and is home to the majority of those Aston Martin Lagondas. Oh yes, I didn't mention those, did I? Now, there are many Aston Martins in this collection, but the one that will really turn your head is the Lagonda, or the Wedge as it's affectionately known. Now, back in 1976, Aston Martin was on the brink of bankruptcy and they badly needed some PR. So they launched this, and my goodness me, do they get some PR. Within the first few days, they got a huge number of orders for this car. In total, there were 645 of them made, and they weren't particularly well made. They suffered badly from electronic gremlins, but in terms of statements, you can't do better than the Lagonda, can you? Now, there aren't many still in existence in the UK. There's around 80 still registered, and this collection here has got 23 of them. Yes, you heard that right, 23 Lagonda Wedges. Madness. I told you it was special, didn't I? But who is this Roger Dudding, and how come he's living every petrolhead's dream? Right, I suppose the obvious question is, how on earth did all of this start? What was the thing that kick-started your love of cars?
Well, one, I happen to have had a technical bent,
yeah,
and I did study engineering, so I'm a would-be engineer. What really kicked it off, I suppose, was back in 1968, I was fortunate enough to buy a Jensen FF, and though there were other four-wheel drive cars around, the Jensen FF was the first car in the world to be four-wheel drive with Maxarette anti-lock brakes. Yeah. So I had that in 1968. Then when I started my first business in 1970, when I went on my own, that was the car I was using, so I was the salesman, the lavatory cleaner, the chairman. The car had to fulfill lots of functions, and over 2 or 3 years it got rather tired.
Yeah.
So it needed to be restored, so I think I bought myself a van to drive around after that. So I kept the Jensen, such as a unique vehicle, and as things evolved, I had it totally restored. That probably was the original one, kicked the idea off, and then after that, prior to that, my late father, who was a naval officer all his working life, back in 1952, took delivery of a brand new Morris Minor. And of course, most people don't realise now, but at that time, if you ordered a car, the delivery time was about 4 years. And by legislation in the UK, and I don't think that stopped until about 1958, if you bought a new car, by law, you had to keep it for 4 years to stop trading, as it were, because we were selling cars for export to help rebuild the economy after World War II. So when Father unfortunately died in 1970, my mother said she was going to give Father's Morris Minor to my younger sister. No way was that going to happen. So I bought the sister a car of equivalent value and took possession of Dad's Morris Minor. And the silly story behind that, the old man was of a rank where he had a chauffeur-driven naval car, and the procedure often would be that he'd send Mother a telegram to say that he was coming home on leave 2 or 3 weeks' time. He was at sea, get the car ready for him, which I duly did. The old man would arrive home with his driver, say on a Friday night or something, and then on Saturday, he and Mother were going to go and visit his parents or her parents. So I had the little Morris all ready to go out. Shall we say, it started to rain, so the old man would summon his driver back, use the naval issue Humber Hawk, to leave the Morris in the garage so it didn't get wet. And I couldn't say no without doubt, but I don't think Dad's Morris has been in the rain 3 times in its life.
Wow.
It is absolutely immaculate. So that really was number 2 in the collection.
Yeah. So is it safe to say, if you had to get one car out of the collection, let's say, heaven forbid, the place is on fire, that would be the car you'd
Without
save?
question, yes. And to me, obviously it's emotional, but to me it's priceless.
Yeah.
And I suppose the genuine value of that sort of car today, and they're rather cute, the Morris Minor, is probably in the category of £5,000 or £6,000.
But to you, it's priceless.
It's priceless, as you say, it's priceless.
So how does it work then? Do you just buy anything that you particularly like?
Well, within broad limitations, if I can afford it. I'm aware, shall we say, serious collectors perhaps aspire to collect an Aston Martin or Ferraris or something of that ilk. That's all very well and good, but when you've seen one, fundamentally, you've seen them all, to a large degree. So I have absolutely no policy other than finance. So if I go to a car sale, a car auction, and I see something out of the ordinary, and it appeals to me, and I can afford it, I bought it.
Yeah.
So I suppose the rude ones amongst my friends and colleagues will say, Dudding, you have an absolute rat bag collection. Polite people say, it's eclectic. So with our visitors to these premises, they're always amazed what we've got tucked around the corner. It's a bizarre collection of motor vehicles. We cover from 1904, which is the oldest vehicle we've got, right up to now a year-old Wraith, which was built especially to the order of the late Lady Martin, the widow of George Martin of Beatles fame.
Yeah.
And he died, Sir George died, I think now about 5 years ago. Lady Martin commissioned a Wraith, Rolls-Royce Wraith, that's a 2-door sport coupe, in her husband's memory, and it's absolutely beautiful, all copper interior. All the songs he wrote are embroidered in the upholstery, and it's a special paint job. It rather is exceptional.
So do you actually view this as a car collection, or do you view it as just your garage?
I suppose really it's got to get into a car collection now. It's so varied.
It's so large as well, isn't it?
It's also led us into, establishing a high secure premises, etc., etc. It's morphed into the situation where we have a number of, starting with friends, people we knew, who wanted us to store their cars for them. We've now evolved it into a business. We now store probably well in excess of 400 cars for high net worth individuals. So a couple of years ago, we commissioned and built a purpose-built storage facility a couple of miles from this building with all bells and whistles on it. And it's an Aladdin's cavern. Obviously, these cars are there under non-disclosure clauses. People can't look at it, but we keep about 2/3 of our collection there as well on different floors.
Yeah. But you can see, walking around the collection here, you've done well in terms of trying to chart the development of the car. You can see there are cars that were brilliant at that particular moment in time, and it's a great sort of cross-section of the motor car, really.
We tried to get a representative selection here, and one particular car I'm terribly fond of is the Aston Martin Lagonda, nicknamed the Wedge.
Yes, I was going to ask you about this, because it's bordering on insanity, your collection.
Totally. And the late William Townes designed the Wedge, Aston or Lagonda motor car, and it wasn't an evolution of existing car. It was a total, absolute radical design. And in fairness, you'd call it the ultimate Marmite car. You either loved it or you hated it. Well, I was fortunate enough to buy one back in '81, and I remember driving home very proud of my Lagonda Wedge. Arrived home and my late wife took one look at it and said, "That's horrible, it's got to go." So I managed to persuade her to allow me to keep the car, and they were very, very advanced for their time, and a lot of electronic problems. And it used to get us to our destination, talking about the UK, and even though we arrived at our destination, I'd pat it on its bonnet and say, "Thank you very much." When we came out of a friend's home or something, wherever we were to return home, the wretched vehicle wouldn't start. So on the third occasion, Gloria said to me, "Divorce or the car goes." So it's cheaper to get rid of the car. But since then, I have amassed another 23 Wedge Lagondas, which of course is mad.
It's mad. It's really mad.
Well, it is said in the motoring world, if you have one Wedge, you're mad. If you have two, you're absolutely bonkers. So with 23, I'm obviously very certifiable.
Yes, you need a straitjacket, don't you?
Straitjacket and take me away now, as it were. Yeah.
So is it the fact that car, it was so advanced and it didn't try to copy anything else, and subsequently no other car manufacturers tried to copy it? For you, is that what's so wonderful about it?
Yes, it is totally, totally original. As you so correctly say, it was a brand new concept, a brand new design. No one had done it before. No one's done it since.
So when are you going to stop buying Lagondas? Is that it now? Or if one pops up again, can you not resist the urge?
You are right on the button. I was offered another Wedge yesterday.
Oh no!
And I haven't told my general manager here this yet. And I put an offer in on it.
Right.
So we had 24 in the collection at one time, and then a client of ours who's a nut on Aston Martins, he pleaded with me to sell him a Wedge to complete his lineup of Aston Martins and Lagonda. So I sold him one on the condition that he had to maintain it, and if ever in the future he came to sell it, he had to sell it back to me. End of story. So we had our collection of 24 reduced to 23. I had an acquaintance of acquaintance only contact me yesterday and said they have got this fully restored Mark IV, which is the last of the series, Wedge. They want Y number of pounds for it. It's allegedly immaculate, etc. So I've gone back with an offer of 10% off Y number of pounds, and whether they accept it or not, I think they possibly will, because you have to be a bit of a lunatic to buy them.
You could say that, yeah.
Yes.
It's been an absolute
pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Isn't it amazing to think that all of this is due to this simple machine here? This machine's got an awful lot to answer for. Now, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think is your favourite car here. It's actually time for me to take my ticket. Number 98. I think I've got quite a long wait ahead of me.
If you haven't had your fill of our interview with Roger, then you can click here to watch the uncut version. If you haven't already, then press the Auto Express logo to subscribe to the channel and leave your comments below.